And he wasn't told to take, as you say, possession of the camp, move up. Now, because he was independent, he felt that it was his duty to act as an independent man. Already, Glyn, as you were, Pauline was in camp with 2,000 men. He comes up and he thinks, okay, he's access to needs. Now, when he now hears about Zulus on the escarpment, when Higginson comes down to report that there's Zulus on the escarpment, he thinks that there's a threat. And so, independent of mind, and only with 250 men, he moves out with the intention of cutting off the Zulus who might pose a threat to Chelmsford upstream or up country. So, yes, he was rash. There's no doubt about it. He should have realized that there was, with the Zulu sightings which they'd seen on that escarpment earlier that day, that the threat lay in camp. But again, we're looking at a man's mind. Yeah. And it's damn difficult to look at a man's mind 135 years later. Of course, like Tali on Majuba. Why did he go up there? You asked me many questions. He wasn't in the Transvaal. The Boers were. He went up onto the mountain. We call it a demonstration. He didn't bring up artillery and support, which the Boers saw, and that's the reason why they decided to take the hill back. Was that an offensive or a defensive action, or was it just merely a demonstration? So looking at this scenario here, when we have Chelmsford actually going out there, certainly I agree with you, it was a rash movement. His force was under strength. And we know that when he met the left horn, just pan across to Etuzi, and then go into that re-entrance, that valley there, and then go to those trees. It was before those trees and that big donga that we crossed last time when we came down that road right at the back. We went into a huge hole. You can't see it from here. And it was in that facility that Whitelaw, who has now positioned himself on Etuzi, rode down that spur to the right. Yep. There's a re-entrant to the right. And he got hold of Durnford and he said, "Sir, they are behind you." And Durnford ticked off Whitelaw. He was a colonial, he was a youngster. And there were certain words that took place there between the two. And then it was only when Whitelaw pointed behind him to the top of Etuzi Heights that Durnford realized he was in trouble. And so it was, he retreated, as you rightly say. He came across this donga here, which you can see coming from that re-entrant. Yep. Then if you run across towards Conical Hill, there's another donga, there's a dapple of sunlight. And just in the shadows there, there's yet another donga. He puts down a stopping action, rides around the face of Conical, and he ends up where the clinic currently is, which is...
You can just see it next to the road. Can you see it?
Okay, as long as you can see it, I can't. And he ends up in that donga there, which is Durnford's donga. Remember, you must look at the clinic left of the road. Hey? Yeah. It's not to the right, it's to the left. Yeah, correct. And that's where he goes into position. Yeah. And from this angle, you can see where he stops to put down fire. Look at that sunlight there shining on the Isandlwana battlefield. Yep. Look how far forward he is from the rest of the line. Miles. And there's a hole there which the Zulus exploited. Yeah. Big time. Thank you. You've left the door open. And that's exactly what the Zulus did, as they poured in there. Of course, we're looking at another feature. Just pan across again. There's Qwabi. And who was up on Qwabi?
Barker and his mate.
Hawkins. Yeah. There was Barker and there was Hawkins. And they were acting as communication to Scott on Conical, because from the camp, Conical blocks the view of that valley. Exactly. And that's why they rode, and those were what we call, in military terms, vedettes. Vedettes, yeah. And a vedette is a man on a horse who's a guard. Yeah. And the danger sign for a vedette to tell the guys down the line was to get the horse to chase its tail. Yeah. And that's exactly what they did in the early opening hours after they'd been signalled further up the line from a place called Nyezi Hill by Whitelaw and one other unknown, who had seen Zulus now coming out of the Ngobeni Valley and beginning to, we could almost use those trees as a prop. Yeah, exactly. And use them and say those are Zulu warriors coming through.
Exactly right. You're 100% right. Because he noticed them 6 o'clock in the morning, 5,000 of them. So
you got it.
You got a huge mass there. And that goes to show you that the Zulus were running around early morning and not sleeping at the Ngobeni Valley. They were, you know, positioning themselves for the attack already.
And being doctored by the various Indunas. Are you recording?
Yep.
Okay, good. Well, there you are. You have that commentary there.